or so. Some preachers Christ, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for contention. Yeah, Philippians. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. This is Philippians 1:15. Some indeed preach Mashiach even of envy and strife.
Which is, see, when you're coming from that angle, now the Most High can't really deal with you. Now your wisdom is going to be stripped away.
Right.
Because see, what happens is a lot of guys, when they came into whatever camp, because this ain't specific to any camp, because you got guys that left IUIC and don't believe that there is Israel no more in the tribes of Israel.
Right.
You got guys that leave these different places. They become Old Testament only Israelites.
Yep.
Or they become all the 12 tribes of black, which even happened. It just happened to even very prominent men.
Right.
Not in recent history, men that were very respected even started to reject the belief of the tribes. Okay.
Yep.
Now, why did that happen? Because one, out of envy and strife of the northern tribes, they started to reject them. Which that goes into the vexation.
Right.
Because now, instead, because you couldn't forgive your brethren because of how they are, you began to say they can't be Israel. They got to be heathen. But then these guys will never tell you, none of you guys will ever say, if they're not Israel, what nation are they? Go over to Genesis chapter 10 and tell us the nation, man. But you guys want to keep opening up your mouth, man. And we've warned different brothers about this stuff.
Yep.
You know, you got certain guys, y'all kept on, you know, you want to go into that level and you want to keep going there. You better understand that what's happening to you is that certain things is being removed from you.
It's being removed, man.
And you don't even know it. You might think you're sincerely doing this, but you don't understand what you're doing. For one, you don't even know about why Judah, Benjamin, Levi were different on this side. It's your boy. It's your boy.
Who we got in there with him?
Unbelievable,
out of control.
Unbelievable, man.
But that just lets you know, man.
We gotta be saved from wicked and unreasonable men, brothers and sisters.
Man, it's
you know, you brothers and sisters out there, you gotta pray for brothers that are in this faith, man. That's part of you know, if you're not on the block or whatever, you know, doing your own thing, you got an important role to pray for brothers that the truth of the gospel be made fully manifest. Because you got men out here that don't want it to come out.
Yeah. That gospel gonna come out regardless.
It's gonna come out regardless.
It's gonna come out regardless.
But going back into the lecture at hand.
Perfection.
You know, hey, that's why Paul said. See, that's why I say to speak wisdom unto them that are perfect, and understanding, meaning is given to the elect for them to truly understand.
Right.
Now, when these guys are going back into the southern kingdom, right? The reason why those three tribes are different is because of the fact that those three tribes, when you go into the history of the slave trade, they were not even taken from the same lands in Africa.
Yep.
When you go into the slave trade, see, you got guys, you think that it's so, we could just go into the southern kingdom and break that down. You'll realize that different tribes of the southern kingdom alone were taken from certain parts of Africa. And what a lot of people don't understand about the history of Jake and how it is, because Babylon is not a communal place. You know, communal, right? Communal means you have family oriented based on community, long extended kinships.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's not built that way, y'all don't understand how it is everywhere else in the world. See, when Israel even fled from the land, and this is how you would really know, they had to all deal with their own extended family kinships. They would even settle lands based on their extended family kinships. Because why would you want your cousin or your brother and their family to live elsewhere when they should settle amongst you?
Yep.
So all them kinships and different tribes of the southern kingdom even settled amongst their own kinship families. Because those are the people that you could trust and that you grew up with. And you know?
Yep, that's
so
right.
Why would it would make sense that they would all try and separate in their own little plots and areas within West Africa or Central Africa as it was. Because even Jake over on the east coast of Africa, like the southeast side, you know, which we'll probably do a lesson on some of this information.
And
Go ahead, Al.
And you know that's a part that's ingrained in Jake too, because even when you go into that Ben Ami thing over there in Israel, they live in a giant kafar or village, and all of them are in that specific area, man. because, like you said, why would they want to separate themselves from where their kinship and where their family is and everything, man? So you know, if that's just like any one of us. If we used to go somewhere else, a different country, man, we would have our family all right there because these are the people we trust. We don't trust outsiders.
Prime example, Jake. When Jake was leaving Mississippi, because a bunch of Jakes in Mississippi went up to the Midwest in Chicago and places like that.
Right.
Now you think that if a Jake had his cousins living on the south side of Chicago, he probably wouldn't move to the west side of Chicago if he could be by his kinfolk.
He's gonna be right there in that area, man.
So that's how Jake was doing back then. That's why a lot of times they knew who they were in each other. They knew which tribe they were. That's why even with Paul was from Cilicia, and he knew he was a Benjamite.
Right.
Then you had a Levite that was from Cyprus. They knew he was a Levite. They didn't have to. They knew that because they already kept their kinship understanding together.
That's right.
Okay. Now let's go ahead and go into the second Esdras, because see, this is what some of the guys that go into the second Esdras and break it down. We're going to show you how y'all cannot answer some of these questions. So go ahead and go into that.
This is second Esdras 13. I'm going to start at the 39th verse.
That's right.
And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto himself, those are the 10 tribes, which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea, the king, whom Salmanasar, the king of Assyria, led away captive. And he carried them over the waters. And so they came into another land. But they took counsel.
Okay. Now they came over to another land. Because when you go into the Gospels, or no, when you go into the account in Kings, and where they were taken to different parts within the Assyrian Empire. Hamath was one of them. There was other cities, Nineveh. They were taken and sprinkled in different cities. It's actually in the account in the Book of Kings where the northern tribes were kept in certain areas in the Assyrian Empire. That's where they were carried into that other land. That's the first part. They were carried into another land. Now it's going to keep going.
But they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen.
Which this happened when Assyria fell. When the Assyrian Empire fell, they decided to take counsel. Now with this, we're gonna tell you. When you go into the book of Ezra, chapter 2, you're gonna see that after the Babylonian captivity, you can see that some people, when the Babylonian Empire took over from the Assyrian Empire, you still had some northern tribes of the northern kingdom that were still within them territories. When the Persians took over and they were allowed to go back into their land, you had some of the northern tribes go back with the southern kingdom back to Israel. Right. Now, when you go into the accounts of the different towns, the amount of people that came back from the northern kingdom was very small.
Right.
Yeah, you know it couldn't have been the bulk of the tribe. Right. It's impossible.
Because even in the Gospels, it tells about the prophetess that was of the tribe of Asher.
That's right. So we'll admit that there were some of the northern kingdom. But when you go into the census in the second book of Ezra, it's so small. And some of these towns were very big towns back when all the tribes were together. Right. And when they came back, some of these towns only had about 20-something people to 100 people that was from them hometowns.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just like someone being from, it's like someone being from Katy. Katy got 100,000 people. Yeah. And let's say Katy was of the tribe of Ephraim, was one of the towns of Ephraim. Yeah. And then when they came back and did a census, they said that we got 500 people that's from the town of Katy. That means where did the rest go?
Yeah, where did the rest go?
Because it was a big town. Yep. Where did the rest of the people of the tribe of Ephraim that lived in Bethel and Ai? Yeah. Where did they go? We're going to read it. Okay.
Yep, that's it. Verse 41. But they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt.
Where never mankind dwelt. Now, this is what they will say. They'll say that the place that never mankind dwelt was Asia Minor. When you go into Genesis, the 10th chapter, it tells you that the sons of Japheth inherited those lands. Right?
That's right. That's right.
So, one, wrong on that. And we're going to show you're wrong on that, because it's going to keep going. Keep going up.
Verse 42, that they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land.
Now, what you would have to do, you guys that are saying that the northern tribes went to Asia Minor, now you'd have to prove by historical account that those Northern Kingdom tribes kept the laws in those same lands that you said that they were in. Which, guess what? You can't do it because it didn't happen.
That's right.
You can't, you get what I'm saying? And we got to correct you guys because these are questions that you guys that are scoffing at this thing, now you've gone from being a doubter to someone who, or someone who wants to know, who's maybe wants to dispute about it and talk about it, debate that cause. Now you just went from a debater to a scoffer.
Right.
Because a scoffer doesn't address the questions that are asked to them. That's what a scoffer does. Someone that wants to debate thy cause with thy brethren will then address it.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And we got it now. It's good that the brother brought it up because we didn't think, but it's good that we brought it up because we're establishing what was happening to the northern tribes over here. Okay? Now, go ahead, keep going.
Verse 43. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passage of the river.
Okay.
For the Most High then showed signs for them, and he held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half.
So you're telling me it's going to take from Assyria. First of all, Assyria, the Assyrian Empire is primarily in modern Iraq. This is just a geography lesson for you brothers and sisters. When you go into the map of Iraq, you go into the city of Mosul. Mosul is in the province of Nineveh, which that's where ancient Nineveh was. Now what these guys that are telling you that the northern tribes, right? That the northern tribes took a year and a half to get to Asia Minor.
Man.
Go and look at a map of Mosul and find out how many miles it is from Turkey.
And see if that takes a year and a half.
It won't even take a week for you. First of all, it won't even take you from Mosul to Turkey. It won't even take you even 2 days to get there on a walk. It'll probably take you 2 to 3 days if you're walking slow, with no camel, no nothing. But these guys want to tell you it's taking a year and a half. Why? Because they hate their brother. They are fulfilling Isaiah 11 and 13. Because one, if you want to take away the identity of them, now tell us who they are. Right. After all, we've been able to identify who Esau is, who the so-called white man is.
Right?
Yeah. Right?
You know who the so-called white man is according to the scriptures.
Yeah.
Hey man, all we gotta do.
But how come none of these guys want to tell us who these people are over here? Huh?
Hey man. Hey. You gonna learn today.
Why don't they want to do that, huh?
Shoot, man.
Get me 1 Thessalonians 5. You know what I want to go down to the towards the bottom, right? Move on, please. Right?
That's it.
Because see, what you guys don't know is that brothers held back because we like, man, listen, we're gonna let y'all do y'all's talking or whatever. But now, because of these things that are happening, because our people are raising up in the protests in the North Dakota, that's like the biggest protest of the North American Indians since probably the 60s. Going back to the movement of AIM, American, what's it called?
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah, that's it. This is 1 Thessalonians 5 and 21. Prove all things, hold fast to that which is good.
Prove all things, man.
Amen.
You gotta now prove it, man.
Yeah, you do.
See, because you got guys, what happened with some of you brothers that are sincere that got caught up in that, you left, you got out of a wicked situation. You know that the guys that were teaching you were wicked. But instead of examining the doctrine and seeing what was relevant and what was not, you decided to come up with your own mind to cast the whole, to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Now you didn't section off a whole part of your nation away from the gospel, because now you're not able to now come. Now guess what happens? Now when they come up, you can't even bring to them scriptures, and just not even about the identity, about what they went through according to prophecy.
Yeah, you can't even bring it up.
You can't even do that now. Now if you run into a North American Indian, as they're called today, and they're complaining about the protests, about the pipeline in North Dakota, now you have no ability to minister the gospel to them through prophecy. Because prophecy is the key aspect of the conviction of our people. All of us believe because of prophecy.
Because of prophecy, and basically what you're doing, you cast them off as heathens, man.
Yeah.
And they're really your brother.
Yeah.